Imagine reincarnating into your favorite video game, but instead of becoming the hero, you turn into the most overpowered villain. The story begins as we meet a girl named Alicia, who arrives at the capital, searching for the Royal Academy. Along the way, she encounters an old lady, who reveals that she feels sick, so Alicia goes to the lady's house, and uses light magic to cure her. She immediately starts to feel better, and her daughter thanks Alicia. She realizes Alicia is a first-year student, so she tells Alicia to hurry, because the Royal Academy's gate will close at exactly 6 a.m. So Alicia rushes to the academy, but the bell rings, and a boy named Oswald closes the gate before she could enter. He advises her to look for a place to spend the night, but she knows that the entrance ceremony is tomorrow, so she wants to enter the dorm. But he can't let her enter the gate, because he needs to follow the rules of the academy. But he mentions that a part of the wall is crumbling, telling her that students who broke the curfew have been using it to enter. She wonders who he is, so he introduces himself, telling her that he's the son of a minister, and she tells him that he's a great person, saying she wants to be his friend. She sees the broken part of the wall, and she meets a boy named William, who realizes that she also broke the curfew. So he helps her up, and they sneak into the academy, as he reveals that he's also a freshman. He explains that he was ordered to buy drinks for his seniors, saying it's a ritual for new kids entering the dorm. He tells her to watch her step, helping her walk on the roof, and he mentions that his father is a general. She realizes that the academy is full of rich people, and he reminds her to be careful, but he ends up falling into a window. She tries to help him, but she ends up falling with him, and she crashes into a boy who is revealed to be William's friend. He introduces himself as Edwin, revealing that he's the prince of a kingdom, and Alicia is surprised to hear this. Alicia and William report to the principal, who reprimands them, telling them that they've caused a commotion before the entrance ceremony. William blames Alicia, saying he became distracted because she was talking to him, but the principal interrupts him, telling him that his drinks are going to be confiscated. The principal tells Alicia that she has a rare talent for light magic, and this is why she was admitted to the academy on a scholarship, despite her commoner background. He tells them that they will be given extra duties for a week as punishment, ordering them to work together, and they leave the office. But we learn that he's actually happy to see Alicia, thinking she's the only one who can defeat the Demon Lord. That evening, she thinks about how she messed up on her first day, and she hears a commotion. She looks outside, and she sees the guards looking for an intruder. She thinks that criminals are targeting the academy because it's full of rich students, but she thinks that she's safe because she's just a commoner. But at that moment, a man enters her room, so she attacks him, thinking he's the intruder. But he tells her to be quiet, as he shows his face, revealing that he's Edwin. He explains that he wanted to investigate something, but he ended up alerting the guards, and he realizes that they are still searching for him, so he asks Alicia if he can stay in her room. She agrees to his request, and he apologizes for diving into her room. She explains that it's okay, saying she never talked to a member of the royal family before, and he tells her that he's always been surrounded by nobles, so he never had a chance to interact with a commoner. He asks her if all commoners are violent, but she explains that she attacked him because he looked like a robber. They enjoy their time together, but he decides to leave, thinking the guards are gone. The next day, the new students are ordered to enter the hall as part of the opening ceremony. But she bumps into a girl named Yuma, who glares at her, causing her to become intimidated. The officials welcome the freshmen to the academy, but we cut to Alicia and the boys as they fight against Yuma, struggling against her dark magic. She launches magical projectiles, but Oswald summons a fireball, which overpowers her magic and creates an opening for Alicia. Yuma is ultimately defeated, and Edwin hugs Alicia. But we learn that it was all just a game, as a girl celebrates her victory. The game is called Light and Hero, and there are 3 love interests in the game. The goal is to level Alicia up so she can defeat the Demon Lord. But after the Demon Lord is defeated, Yuma appears as the hidden boss, and she's the strongest character in the game. We learn that the girl was killed by Recap-kun, and she reincarnated into the game, but she ended up in Yuma's body instead of becoming Alicia. She knows how the story is going to play out, and she notes that the kingdom was founded by the hero who defeated the Demon Lord. But the Demon Lord had black hair, so the people thought that it's a symbol of evil. She knows that her character is overpowered, because Alicia's party can't defeat her unless they reach the max level. But she knows that she's going to get defeated in the end, so she begins to question her existence. But she remembers that she's the strongest character in the game, so she decides to enjoy her life, thinking she doesn't need to follow the story, as she reveals that she doesn't care about the love interests. She plans to do her best not to get involved, thinking she will be able to live a peaceful life if she stays away from Alicia's party, because they will have no reason to kill her after they defeat the Demon Lord. But she still thinks about raising her level, so she heads to the woods, where she kills a slime. But she realizes that her body is getting stronger. So she becomes addicted to the feeling, and she ends up killing all of the monsters. After some time, Yuma enters the Royal Academy, where she reads a message from her parents, telling her to find noblemen, because she needs to marry one of them to become her parents' heir. She heads to the gate, where she sees Alicia begging Oswald to let her enter, realizing that the events in the game are playing out as expected. She decides to avoid them, and the next day, the entrance ceremony begins, but she notes that everyone is staring at her, thinking it must be because of her black hair. The official reveals that the students' levels are about to be assessed, as they bring out a crystal ball, and Yuma is surprised to hear this. Alicia touches the ball, revealing that she's still at level 1, and the principal tells her to do her best. Everyone is impressed that William is already at level 10, thinking it's high for a freshman. But Yuma becomes nervous because she doesn't know her level, and she wants to keep a low profile. Yuma approaches the ball as the principal notes that she's nervous, thinking she must still be at level 1. But she chooses not to say anything, and she touches the ball, which reveals that she's already at level 99. Everyone is surprised to see this, thinking it's impossible, and she becomes worried, realizing that she won't be able to live a peaceful life. But the officials don't believe her, thinking she tampered with the device, because it's impossible for a freshman to be at level 99, saying she needs to defeat monsters to level up. But she reveals that she has been doing this for years, and everyone is surprised to hear this, but the principal thinks that only time will tell if the result is accurate. After the ceremony, everyone gathers for a buffet party, but Yuma notes that nobody wants to talk to her, so she decides to leave. While walking around the campus, William approaches her, accusing her of cheating. He thinks that she wants to stand out, asking her if she has no pride as a noble. Edwin appears, calling her a central wannabe, as he explains that William has been training with a sword since he was a child, and this explains why he's already at level 10. Edwin also thinks she cheated, but she explains that she's at level 99, saying they will believe her once classes begin. They become upset, thinking she's trying to act innocent, and Oswald joins them, saying she lacks credibility. She realizes that she grabbed the attention of the love interests, but Yuma doesn't like any of them, and she just wants to avoid them so she can live a peaceful life. Edwin tells her to prove that she's telling the truth by displaying her magical powers, but she knows that she's going to create a commotion if she uses her magic. Yuma goes home, and her maid Rita wonders why she left during the party. She explains that she doesn't like the people in the party, but Rita tells her that she will never find a good partner if she continues to behave that way. Rita tells her about Edwin, thinking he's a good match for her, but she notes that he doesn't like her, asking Rita what a central wannabe means. We learn that Yuma comes from a family of regional nobles, but they don't hold a special position in the capital, so they aren't considered as central nobles. The term central wannabe refers to regional nobles who spend time in the capital despite having no influence there, and this is considered as an insult. The next day, we see Yuma in her classroom as she hears her classmates gossiping about her, thinking she's lying about her level. Later that day, the students prepare for their first class, which is about practical swordsmanship. We learn that this is Yuma's first time holding a sword, so she starts playing with it. The teacher tells the students that they're going to have mock battles, telling Yuma that she's going to go first, and William volunteers to fight her. He prepares to take her on, but she thinks about holding back against him. She recalls that she was only using magic to kill monsters, but she knows that her physical attacks are also powerful. William calls her a fraud, advising her to back out, and the teacher orders them to take their positions. But she doesn't raise her sword, so the students laugh at her, and William mocks her, asking her if she has decided to surrender. But she reveals that this is her first time holding a sword, and he becomes upset, thinking she's mocking him, so he threatens to break her bones. But as he charges in, She notes that he's incredibly slow, and she dodges his attack, causing him to lose his footing, and he falls to the ground. But William refuses to give up, and he's about to strike her, but she parries his attack, blowing him away. She becomes worried, thinking she'll be in trouble if anything happens to him, but she realizes that he's still alive. The next class is about practical magic, and we see that Alicia and Oswald are her classmates. The teacher wants to test the students' magical abilities, so she tells them to hit the dummy with their spells. We learn that there are 4 basic elements, which the students use to attack the dummy. Light magic is extremely rare, so even though Alicia is struggling to use it, her classmates are impressed by her ability. Oswald has mastered the 4 basic elements, and he displays his powers as he attacks the dummy, and the teacher is impressed, saying she now understands why people call him a prodigy. He tells Yuma that she's next, asking her what she can do, as she notes that he wasn't able to see what happened in the previous class, so she understands why he's still questioning her abilities. We learn that she can't use the 4 basic elements, but she has mastered dark magic. She asks the teacher if it's okay to break the dummy, but she explains that only palace mages are capable of destroying it, saying Yuma is welcome to break it if she can. So she uses her weakest spell, as Oswald comments that it looks pathetic. It hits the dummy, causing it to disintegrate, and we learn that the spell melts anything it touches. The teacher is impressed, and she explains that dark magic isn't evil, saying palace mages have used it in the past. Oswald can't believe that he's been outdone, refusing to accept that there's someone better than him, and he dashes away. Edwin arrives with the principal, telling Yuma that she's about to be expelled, as the principal explains that she isn't fit to stay in the academy because she lied about her level. The teacher begs him to reconsider, explaining that Yuma is a user of dark magic who is capable of destroying the dummy. But the principal isn't convinced, saying it doesn't prove that she's level 99. The teacher knows that Yuma was holding back, so she begs her to display her magic at full strength. So Yuma asks for Edwin's permission to shoot her magic into the sky, and he tells her to do what she wants, thinking her magic wouldn't make much of an impact. She summons a black hole, which continues to expand until it completely covers the sky, and the entire kingdom panics as everyone experiences its power. We learn that the black hole erases everything in its area of effect, and it's removing the air in the sky, creating a vacuum which absorbs everything into it. She stops using the spell, and the black hole disappears, but everyone is in a state of shock, realizing that she has the power to destroy the kingdom. The next day, Yuma is summoned by the king, so she enters the royal palace, where everyone is talking about the black hole, thinking her powers are scary. The king tells her that he knows what happened at the academy, saying everyone treated her harshly, and he apologizes for their actions. She explains that she deserved it, saying she caused trouble for everyone, but he tells her that they were being unreasonable because they shunned her without knowing the truth. But he wants to test her abilities, saying he finds it hard to believe that she's at level 99, so he orders the knight captain, Adolf, to determine if she's telling the truth. She recalls that he's the strongest knight in the kingdom, knowing he's at level 60, which is the minimum level required to defeat the demon lord. He tells her that he respects her powers, so he won't hold back, and he starts charging at her as she considers how she should react, because she doesn't want to hurt him. She notes that she doesn't need to fight him, so she decides to bow, allowing her to dodge the attack. He explains that even the knights can't evade that move, saying she was able to maintain her composure while he was charging at her. So he concludes that she's at level 99, and he apologizes for attacking her, telling her that he was just following orders. The king tells Yuma to display her magic powers, so she uses her spell, causing spikes to appear from the ground. The king recognizes it as dark magic, so he asks the head palace mage about his opinion, because everyone thinks it's evil. But he explains that dark magic is just like the other elements, saying it isn't necessarily evil, and it's at the same level as light magic, so it's considered to be extremely rare. The king concludes that people fear Yuma because they don't understand her, and he congratulates her for being the first person in the world to reach level 99, wondering how she was able to achieve this. So she explains how she acquired the Amulet of Growth to gain more experience and used the monster calling flute to summon monsters in the dungeon. But everyone thinks she's insane because her actions are incredibly dangerous. The king asks for Adolf's opinion, so he explains that only one amulet can be equipped, and he never uses the amulet of growth, because the amulet of protection has saved him countless times. He adds that he will never summon monsters alone, saying he's afraid that he could end up dying. The king wants Yuma to use her powers to serve the kingdom, and she agrees to this, so he offers to give her anything she wants, saying he's willing to welcome her into the royal family. But she thinks that he's trying to chain her to the kingdom by becoming a member of his family, so she tells him that she just wants to live in peace, and he promises to grant her wish. But we learn that she doesn't really care about the kingdom, and she plans to escape as soon as anything bad happens. Yuma is invited to the queen's chamber, where the queen tells her that their discussion is going to be private, so she immediately wants to go home. The queen trusts her, thinking she's nothing like the nobles with ulterior motives, so she decides to give her access to confidential information. She reveals that the demon lord will return in 2 years, so they're preparing an elite force led by Edwin, because he needs to defeat the demon lord as a member of the royal family. She tells Yuma to join Edwin's party, saying other talented students will also be invited. Yuma realizes that Alicia was given a scholarship because the royal family is planning to use her to achieve their goal, and Edwin doesn't know about this, so he was investigating this at the beginning of the game. Yuma agrees to join the party because she wants to defeat the demon lord, but the queen tells her that she must only assist Edwin, saying the reputation of the royal family will be ruined if she strikes the finishing blow. The queen advises her to marry Edwin, but she instantly refuses, and the queen tells her that she still has 2 years to reconsider. We learn that there are nobles who oppose the king because they aren't happy with the current state of the kingdom, and they're being led by Duke Hilros. The queen explains that central wannabes have joined his faction, including Yuma's family, so she wonders how she should deal with her parents, thinking she'll be asked to marry into the Hilros family. So the queen explains that she'll send a royal order to prevent Yuma's family from taking her away, but the effect will only last for 3 years. Yuma thinks that it's more than enough time, but she knows that she needs to do something about her family after she graduates, and the queen advises her to avoid the anti-king faction, knowing her powers have attracted the attention of other countries. Yuma returns home, and Rita gives her an album, saying she can use it to pick a marriage partner, but she isn't interested, telling Rita to give her tea, as she reveals that she received pastries from the queen. We see the royal family talking about Yuma, thinking she's brilliant, because she reached level 99 at such a young age. The queen thinks that she had no choice but to become stronger, because her parents never loved her, and the public shunned her because of her black hair. But the queen acknowledges her strength, because she chose to suffer in silence, and she never held a grudge against anyone. The king knows that the other nobles will try to win her over, so they need to give her the peaceful life that she desires, and the queen thinks she needs friends, because they will make her more attached to the kingdom. Back in the academy, the girls start approaching Yuma, trying to befriend her, as she notes that things have changed after she was summoned by the king. But her relationship with Alicia hasn't changed, and the boys apologize for their actions, but they start avoiding her. She receives letters from other boys, who are trying to win her over, as she notes that the people from the king's faction are easy to get along with. But the members of the anti-king faction are aggressive, because they want to use her against the royal family. We see a boy telling her to marry him, saying they can unify the entire continent, but she rejects him, telling him that she only likes people who are stronger than her. But he tells her that physical strength isn't everything, as he claims that his intelligence is superior. But she reminds him that he isn't the top student, saying he will have to oppose the royal family if he plans to unify the continent. So he will have to commit insurrection to achieve his goal, and she tells him that the crime is punishable by death, causing him to become scared. She tells him that she will pretend the conversation never happened, but she thinks that someone may have overheard them. So she advises him to stay away from her, because people may become suspicious. Yuma is about to return to her room, but she encounters a girl named Elanora, who tells her that she was looking for her. Yuma knows that she's the daughter of Duke Hilros, and the girls look up to her, but she orders them around like a tyrant. Yuma recalls that her character became evil in an attempt to please Elanora, so she wants to avoid her. But Elanora invites her to a tea party, and Yuma thinks that she'll be in trouble if she declines, so she decides to attend. We learn that Yuma never had a social life, so she doesn't know how to interact with people. Elanora starts talking about her perfume, and Yuma doesn't care, so she keeps giving generic answers. She realizes that Elanora is extremely talkative, and we learn that she was too busy acting as the queen of the academy in the game, so Alicia never had a chance to talk to her. Her friend stops her, and she tells Yuma to give up on Edwin, saying she will be welcomed into the group if she agrees to this. Elanora thinks that the king told her to marry Edwin, so she wants Yuma to stay away from him, thinking she isn't fit to be his wife. But she wonders why Elanora is talking to her, because Alicia is closer to him. She tells Elanora that she doesn't want to marry him, so she's invited to join the group, but she refuses, because she doesn't want to be her friend. But Elanora thinks that she's hiding her feelings for Edwin, causing her to become annoyed. She explains that she doesn't deserve to be with him, because Elanora is more worthy of his love, saying they will make a fine couple. This causes her to feel overjoyed, as Yuma notes that she's easy to please. After some time, we see Yuma in the cafeteria, and a group is about to join her, but Alicia approaches her, wondering if she's the demon lord. She's surprised to hear this, and Alicia reveals that she knows about the royal family's secret, because Edwin told her that the demon lord will return in 2 years. So Yuma thinks he's an idiot for spilling the beans, and she wonders why Alicia believes that she's the demon lord. Alicia explains that she finds Yuma suspicious because she has black hair, and she even uses dark magic. So she tries to explain that she isn't the demon lord, but the boys interrupt her, thinking she's trying to harm Alicia. She explains the situation, hoping Edwin will try to hide the secret, but he tells everyone that the demon lord will return. William thinks she's the demon lord, but she denies this, saying the demon lord will return in 2 years, but she's already in the academy, so she's just another student. But William believes that she's going to become evil in the future, saying he will punish her if that happens, so she asks him if he can take her on, causing him to become frightened. Oswald also thinks she's the demon lord, because her powers are out of this world, but she tells them that they're just weak, saying they need to get stronger if they want to defeat her. We learn that she wants them to level up, so that they can defeat the demon lord, thinking they will like her if she helps them become stronger, so she decides to teach them how to level up, telling them to kill monsters in a dungeon during their free time. She advises them to wear the amulet of growth and head to the deepest part of the dungeon, where the most powerful monsters can be found. She tells them to hunt them down and use the monster calling flute when they're alone, saying it's the most efficient way to level up. But Edwin thinks she's trying to get them killed, and she realizes that her method is too dangerous, so she offers to join him in the dungeon, but he refuses, saying he doesn't need her help. Yuma realizes that the boys didn't like her advice, and she hears the people talking about her method, thinking she's crazy. But she wonders why Alicia doesn't trust her, thinking she could also be reincarnated into the game, because she seems to know what's going to happen in the future. So the next day, Yuma decides to investigate Alicia, and she follows her around, observing her every move. We learn that in the game, Alicia enrolled in the academy because she wants to help others, and she couldn't get along with her classmates because of her commoner background. But the boys helped her and became her friends. Yuma notes that her personality isn't so different because she's still kind and cheerful, but Yuma wonders why she appears to be afraid of her. As Alicia leaves, Yuma approaches the cat, trying to talk to it, but it's afraid of her, so it quickly runs away. She notes that animals are afraid of her, and she sees the boy named Patrick, who appears to be observing her, but he pretends that he didn't see anything. She knows that he's lying, so she explains that she let the cat escape, saying she could have taken it by force if she wanted to, but he doesn't respond, so she decides to walk away. Yuma continues to spy on Alicia, as she studies with Edwin, who tells her that Yuma isn't the demon lord, saying it's wrong to accuse her, but Alicia draws a pitch-black creature, saying that's what she sees when she looks at Yuma. Yuma thinks this is the reason why animals are afraid of her, thinking it's because light isn't compatible with darkness, and Edwin reveals that he doesn't trust her. But he knows that she will be joining in the fight against the demon lord, because the king has recognized her powers. He tells Alicia that she will also be in the party, because her light magic is considered as a valuable asset, and he apologizes for getting her involved. But she tells him that she wants to use her magic to save the world, saying she's looking forward to working with him, and Yuma notes that her personality hasn't changed, so she concludes that Alicia hasn't been reincarnated. Later that day, Yuma heads to the principal's office, where she meets a man named Ronald, who explains that he will be taking over because the former principal has resigned. But she notes that his smile looks fake, so she finds him suspicious. He reveals that he was sent by the king, and he knows about the royal family's secret, so she concludes that the king trusts him. He knows that Edwin is spilling the beans, explaining that the boys have been acting strange lately because she shattered their pride, so he can't blame them for acting hostile. He explains that the royal family will deny that the demon lord is going to return, but he knows that the rumor will continue to spread. He informs her about the field lessons in the academy, where the students hunt monsters to level up, saying he needs her to help the regional nobles. She wonders how the boys are going to train, so he explains that they will undergo special training, saying he plans to help them reach level 40 before they graduate. She tells him that she wants them to reach level 60, but he thinks it's impossible, because it will take years to achieve that level. We see Yuma supervising the field lessons, as she notes that it's too peaceful, thinking their methods are inefficient and it will never prepare them for a real battle. Patrick agrees with her, saying they can kill more monsters if they work together, and she realizes that she has finally found a classmate she can talk to. He tells her that the vanguards can hold the monsters in place, while the rear guard attacks them from a distance, but she notes that the vanguards will gain less experience with this method. He explains that they need to reverse the role, so that everyone will gain experience, and she notes that this isn't as effective as her method, thinking it's still better to do it alone. He mentions that there are enough people to create the formation, and Yuma suddenly uses the monster calling flute. So Patrick orders everyone to take position, knowing they're in danger, because the monsters are about to attack. The monsters charge at them, but the vanguards hold them off, and the rear guard attacks them from a distance, allowing the students to kill them without casualties. But a monster lunges forward, and the formation is about to break, so Patrick kills it and orders the vanguards to regroup. They're able to defeat the monsters, but everyone is exhausted, and Patrick tells Yuma not to use the flute without warning. But she tells him not to worry, because she will hold the monsters in place, and she uses the flute. So everyone panics, but Yuma tells them to take their time, as she uses her dark bind spell, preventing the monsters from moving. She orders the students to kill them, saying her spell will hold them in place, but the students hesitate, thinking they're going to get attacked. But at that moment, a monster charges at Yuma, and Patrick defends her, but he ends up getting injured, and she kills it in one hit. She uses dark magic to heal him, but he appears to be terrified. He notes that his wound is completely healed, and she wonders why he tried to protect her, because she's already at level 99. But he tells her to take care of herself, and she realizes that he was worried about her. He advises her not to use the flute without warning, but she tells him that she's going to use it, and she summons more monsters, causing everyone to panic because they're already exhausted. But she keeps using her dark bind spell to help them level up, forcing them to push themselves to their limits. The next day, Ronald gives Yuma a warning, telling her to stop using her flute. He's surprised to learn that she can use dark magic to heal injuries, and she mentions that she once lost her arm, so she had to use her magic to regrow it. But she notes that she almost died, knowing she can't survive if her head is sliced off. She inquires about the central nobles, and he tells her that the boys leveled up, but they killed all the monsters by themselves, so the other students couldn't make progress. He adds that Alicia wasn't able to gain experience, saying she needs to level up, because her light magic is a valuable asset to the kingdom, so he asks Yuma to help her out. She becomes excited, thinking Alicia will enjoy her trip to the dark dungeon, but he imagines that she's going to suffer, because Yuma's methods are questionable. So he changes his mind, telling her to test the durability of magic tools instead, and she accepts the task. He gives her a piece of metal, telling her that they're planning to use it to make armor, and it was able to pass Adolf's endurance test, but she easily bends it. Ronald asks her to describe its durability, but she explains that she didn't notice because she wasn't even trying, and he tries to bend it, but he realizes that he can't. Yuma walks around the campus as Patrick approaches her, asking her about the meeting with Ronald. So she mentions that he scolded her, and Patrick tells her that it was expected. His classmate calls him, telling him that everyone wants to see him because they want him to be their leader for the next field lesson, and Yuma notes how everyone trusts him. During their sword class, Patrick invites Yuma to train with him, but she wonders why he chose her as his partner, knowing he has friends who want to pair up with him. So he explains that he owes her for healing him, but she tells him not to think about it, knowing he would have survived on his own. So he thinks about looking for another partner, but she stops him, telling him to train with her. They have a sparring match, as she notes that his swordsmanship is beautiful, but as he tries to strike her, she casually swings her sword and easily blows him away. She approaches him, realizing he's injured, so she heals him as she apologizes for hurting him, but he blames himself for being weak, thinking he isn't worthy to be her partner. She tells him that his sword skills are amazing, saying she could learn from him, but he wonders why she's trying to learn how to fight with the sword, because she's already overpowered. So she reveals that she wants to fight the Demon Lord, and he believes that the rumors are true, thinking the Demon Lord will return in 2 years. But she denies this, saying Edwin is just making things up, as she notes that he has a bad reputation because of his behavior. So his credibility has been affected, and most people believe that his claim about the Demon Lord is a joke. But she knows that everyone finds her suspicious, because she's rumored to be the Demon Lord. She wonders if Patrick believes this, but he finds it absurd, thinking everyone suspects her because of her black hair. He reveals that he was bullied as a child, because everyone thought his hair was dark, but he knows that Yumilla's hair is darker. So he admires her courage, knowing society hates her because of it, but she still wears it with confidence. They have another match, but he gets blown away again, and Yuma heals him, allowing him to recover. He tells her that she's amazing, because she isn't afraid to use her dark magic, knowing everyone thinks it's evil, so it takes courage to use it. That evening, Yuma thinks about her background, wondering if she was born with dark magic. She recalls that in the game, her character gave into the darkness, and everyone loved Alicia for using light magic, but her character tried to hide her powers because she knew that people would dislike her. But Yuma realizes that her world is different, so there's no point thinking about it. A few days later, the students gather for another field lesson, as Patrick reminds Yuma not to use the monster calling flute. So she promises not to use it, saying she will act as the medic, and she watches the students as they fight the monsters. One of them gets injured, so she approaches him, asking him if he wants to experience her healing magic. He tells her that he doesn't, saying he wants to drink a potion instead, but she explains that they shouldn't waste it, and she uses her magic to heal him, causing him to freak out. She realizes that everyone is afraid of her, finding this strange, because healers are usually popular. Later that day, she realizes that the lesson is too easy, thinking their method is inefficient, so she thinks about using her flute, but Patrick stops her, saying it's too dangerous. But she explains that the monsters are too weak for the students, thinking they should be pushed to their limit, so that they can level up faster. She knows that they aren't taking the lesson seriously, so she suggests hurting them, thinking it will help them focus, as she mentions that she can just heal them if it gets too serious. Patrick thinks this is a terrible idea, but she asks everyone if they want her to use the flute instead, and they agree to this, thinking it's the lesser evil. So she summons the monsters, as Patrick tells everyone to prepare for battle, leading them as they fight against the monsters. Yuma observes them, as she realizes that she was being rude, knowing Patrick should be treated with respect, because he outranks her in terms of nobility. She realizes that he's using wind magic to carry his voice, and earth magic to hold his ground, thinking he's a brilliant leader. But she wonders how she's going to talk to him after the incident, thinking he hates her because of her actions. They're able to defeat the monsters, and everyone thanks Patrick for leading them to victory, but they completely ignore Yuma. They return to the academy, as Yuma realizes that nobody's talking to her, thinking she's going to return to her lonely life. But at that moment, Alicia approaches her, apologizing for calling her the Demon Lord. She's about to talk to Alicia, but Edwin tells her to stay away, thinking she was trying to kill the students during the field lessons, and he calls her a threat to the kingdom. So she considers running away, thinking everybody hates her. But Patrick suddenly appears, and he explains that she helped the students level up, saying her methods are questionable, but they can't argue with the results. He tells Edwin to stay away from her, so he decides to back down, and she notes that Patrick looks upset. She thanks him for standing up for her, and she asks him if he's angry, thinking her behavior was unacceptable, but he tells her not to think about it. He reveals that he's worried about her, because she appears to be depressed, but she tells him that she's okay, thanking him for checking up on her, as she realizes that she wants to be his friend. During the summer break, Yuma continues training with Patrick as he teaches her how to wield the sword. But she overpowers him, causing him to get injured, so she heals him, revealing that she still can't control her strength. During their class, Yuma's classmates approach her, asking her to help them with their assignment. They realize that she's always with Patrick, and she explains that she's helping him level up, telling them that she can help them get stronger with her method. But they become frightened, and he tells her to observe people's reactions before recommending her method. So she decides to observe the people around her, and she realizes that everyone's talking about her, thinking she has a special relationship with Patrick. She heads to the library, thinking she needs to learn more about combat, because Patrick inspired her to study strategy and leadership. While searching for a book, she encounters Alicia, who asks for help, wanting to learn how to use magic. Alicia explains that she doesn't know anything about light magic, because it's a rare element, so she can't find a book that covers it. She knows that Yuma's magic is also unique, wondering how she learned how to use it, but she knows that she can't tell the truth because she only learned how to do it by playing the game. She thinks that it wouldn't make sense if she explained it, so she advises Alicia to recall her memories that involve light, saying she can use it to improve her magic. She mentions that she used to watch the stars with her grandmother, saying it was a beautiful scene, and she thanks Yuma for her help, saying she helped her realize something. Later that day, Patrick approaches Yuma, saying the queen has a gift for her. She realizes that the queen gave her pastries, telling him that they should eat in her room, but he becomes flustered, saying a man shouldn't enter a lady's room. So they decide to eat it in the cafeteria, where their classmates watch them, thinking they have a great relationship. After the summer break, the academy prepares for a martial arts competition, where the participants fight with their swords and display their magic powers. Yuma knows that it's an opportunity for students to show the nobles what they can do, so she doesn't want to get involved, thinking everyone must be given a chance to shine. Patrick wonders if she's going to participate, saying he isn't interested in joining. He mentions that the prize is useless because it's an amulet that enhances dark magic and she's the only one who can use it, thinking she doesn't need it because she's already overpowered. But she reveals that she wants it, so she decides to join the contest. Yuma approaches Ronald, telling him to include her as a participant as she thinks about winning the competition to receive the prize. On the day of the event, Patrick reveals that the amulet was given by the king and it's meant for Yuma, but Ronald offered it as a prize, so she realizes that he wanted her to join, thinking it's because he wants to impress the nobles with her powers. The participants gather at the arena, and we learn that the sword fighting matchups are determined by drawing lots. Edwin and William are in the left block, so they're going to be fighting against each other, but Yuma is in the right block, and William approaches her, revealing that he has been training hard. He mentions that he's already level 20, but Yuma doesn't know how to react, because she isn't impressed, so she gives him generic answers. He apologizes for being rude, because he thought she was lying about her level, but he tells her that he's determined to defeat her, so that he can become the strongest knight in the kingdom. The event begins, and Yuma enters the arena, ready to fight her opponent. She plans to hold back, so that he won't look bad, thinking he's trying to impress the nobles. We learn that she's worried about her sword, because she will lose if it's broken, revealing that she accidentally breaks weapons by swinging them around, so she picked the toughest sword she can find. She decides to test it, creating a gust of wind, but her opponent instantly gives up, knowing he doesn't stand a chance against her. She proceeds to the next round, but nobody wants to fight her, so everyone withdraws, allowing her to reach the final round. Edwin fights against William, but he ends up losing, as Yuma notes that he's a magic swordsman, but he can't use magic during the fight, so William had the advantage. In the final round, Yuma fights against William, who tells her that he won't withdraw, and she's glad to hear this. The fight begins, and William attacks Yuma, but she easily dodges, as she notes that he's already exhausted, because he isn't strong enough to use the weapon. He tells her that she does nothing but evade, and she realizes that the fight is boring, thinking she should entertain the nobles, because it's the final round. She thinks about deflecting like Patrick, but as she tries it, she realizes that her sword is about to break. So she decides to use her secret technique, shattering his sword with her fist, and we learn that her punch was so fast that low-level people couldn't see it, so he becomes confused, wondering how he lost. She's announced as the winner, thinking nobody saw her move, but we learn that Adolf was able to see it. During the second part of the event, the participants display their magic and the judges give them a score as Yuma realizes that she has free time because she's the last participant to perform. Oswald approaches her, telling her that the judges won't score them based on strength alone because they will also take precision into account. So he thinks he has the advantage because he has mastered all the basic elements. He apologizes for treating her harshly because he doubted her when she told him about her level, but he reveals that he doesn't like her, so he's determined to defeat her in the contest. Alicia uses her light magic, causing orbs of light to appear in the arena, as Yuma recalls that she used to watch the stars with her grandmother, realizing that she took her advice. Alicia receives 88 points for her performance, as the magic instructor mentions that it was a beautiful spell. Edwin enchants his sword, and he swings it around, creating a pillar of fire, as the judges give him a score of 90. During Oswald's turn, he summons a block of earth, and he divides it into tiny pieces. He calls fire and water to his side, causing them to converge, as he summons a whirlwind, creating a pillar made of the 4 elements. The judges give him a score of 100, and he becomes cocky, thinking Yuma doesn't stand a chance. She enters the arena, but she doesn't have a plan, and she sees Patrick watching her, wondering why he's so far away. She wants to impress him with her magic, but he suddenly backs away, as she wonders what's wrong with him. She reveals that she isn't confident in her control, so she'll have to rely on the strength of her magic, and she uses her full power, summoning a massive black hole, which completely covers the sky. She stops using the spell, and the sky becomes clear, but a typhoon is suddenly formed, as she realizes that it was created by her black hole. Everyone panics, thinking they're going to die, but she realizes that she only used one spell, thinking she needs to continue her performance, but the official begs her to stop, saying she can have 300 points if she ends her performance. Yuma wins the event, so Ronald gives her the prize, as she notes that her magic will become stronger, but he wonders if she even needs it. She thinks that he doesn't understand its true value, so she shows it to Patrick, asking for his opinion, but he tells her she doesn't need it, so she becomes upset, thinking she should display her full power. Yuma realizes that her first year in the academy is about to come to an end, but everyone's afraid of her, because she summoned a black hole during the martial arts competition. We learn that Patrick is the only one who talks to her, but she notes that her life is finally peaceful, because the boys are no longer bothering her. But Edwin suddenly approaches her, and he reveals that Alicia's belongings are missing, asking her if she's the one behind it. She denies this, and Patrick tells him that he shouldn't accuse her without evidence, so he decides to walk away, saying he will look into the other students. She knows that in the game, she was the one who bullied Alicia, and she wonders who's doing it, knowing her classmates hate Alicia because of her commoner background. Yuma doesn't want the bullying to escalate, because Alicia might stop going to school, so she decides to look into it. Later that day, we see a girl approaching Alicia's desk, and she tries to take the books, but Yuma stops her, causing her to freak out, because she's afraid of her. The girl reveals that she's doing it for Elanora, so Yuma pays her a visit, informing her that the girl tried to steal Alicia's books. She wonders if Yuma thinks she's behind it, but Yuma denies this, saying the girl told her that Elanora isn't involved. But she explains that Edwin might hate her, because the girl is connected to her. She's worried that Edwin will end up with Alicia, so Yuma assures her that Edwin can't marry a commoner, but we learn that this is a lie, because Edwin married Alicia in the game. Yuma advises Elanora to ignore Alicia, saying she wants her to end up with Edwin. So she takes a liking to Yuma, who notes that she has accomplished her goal, because she was able to stop the bullying of Alicia and protect the culprit. Yuma meets Patrick, who wonders why she didn't expose the girl, thinking it's better for Edwin to discover the truth. But she mentions that she could have been in a similar situation, as she recalls that her character served Elanora in the game. She tried to steal Alicia's books, but she ended up getting caught, so Elanora shunned her in the end, causing her to suffer, and she started her quest for power, wanting to get revenge. But Alicia defeated her in the end, because her dark magic is weak against light. Yuma tells Patrick about this, but he thinks her situation isn't so different, because nobody likes her. But she mentions that she's satisfied with her life, because she has someone she can talk to. She bids him farewell, as she notes that she had a hard time finding someone to talk to, so she thinks she'll never have a boyfriend. A few days later, Yuma realizes that Elanora is following her around, inviting her to a tea party. She tries to avoid Elanora, knowing she's connected to the anti-king faction, but she keeps following her. So Yuma tells her to stop, but she explains that she has sweets, so Yuma ends up joining her. Elanora gives her cookies, and she tries eating it, as Elanora explains that she was the one who baked it. Yuma thinks this is her chance, because she wants Elanora to hate her, so she mentions that it tastes terrible, thinking Elanora will become angry. But she reveals that she was just testing Yuma by giving her a failed batch, and she admires Yuma's honesty, because she was the only one who told her the truth. Elanora reveals that she started baking, because she heard that Alicia gave Edwin sweets. Yuma tells her that Edwin will never enjoy her sweets, but she isn't offended, so Yuma becomes confused, because she can't get Elanora to dislike her. She notes that Elanora is an idiot, so she thinks that someone is manipulating her. Yuma asks about the girl who tried to take Alicia's books, knowing Elanora gave the order, but she mentions that someone convinced her to do it. So Yuma realizes that the idea came from one of her followers, thinking she isn't a bad person. Yuma advises her not to trust her friends, and she asks Yuma to help her with Edwin, but she doesn't know what to say, because she doesn't want Elanora to end up with him. Days later, Patrick reveals that he talked to Elanora, and he thinks she isn't a bad person, saying Yuma should give her a chance. He invites Yuma to the year-end party, but she declines, and as she walks away, she notes that it's meant to help the students practice for joining high society, thinking it's useless, so she wants to skip it. But she recalls that in the game, Alicia will leave the party with her chosen love interest, so Yuma thinks about joining, wanting to confirm if Alicia is going to end up with Edwin. Elanora suddenly approaches her, asking her if she already has a dress for the party, but she reveals that she doesn't have one, saying she doesn't even have a partner. So Elanora tells her to go with Patrick, saying she will help her pick a dress. Yuma returns home, telling Rita that she needs a dress, and Rita is surprised to hear this, saying she can handle the hair and makeup. Yuma realizes that all of her dresses are for children, as Rita explains that her mother bought all of them, but she doesn't want to wear any of them, so she thinks about skipping the party. But at that moment, they receive a delivery, realizing it's from the queen, and Yuma wonders what it is. We see everyone preparing for the party, but they're all stunned as Yuma arrives, wearing the dress that the queen gave her. She sees Alicia in the party, wondering who she's going to end up with, and Patrick approaches Yuma, but he's surprised to see her, realizing she looks gorgeous. Elanora thinks she's getting in the way, so she decides to leave, but Yuma notes that Patrick is just her acquaintance. She tells him that she wants to leave, because she feels embarrassed wearing the dress. She suddenly sees William looking for Alicia, realizing that they left the party, so she knows that Alicia is going to end up with Edwin, thinking she has already achieved her goal. She's about to leave, but Patrick stops her, inviting her to dance with him, and she agrees to this, so they start dancing to the music. But Yuma feels awkward, so Patrick tells her to relax, and they continue dancing, as she realizes that she's having fun. She notices that everyone's staring at her, thinking they see her as a weirdo, but Patrick tells her that she's beautiful. She realizes she's getting nervous, and he's about to tell her how he feels, but the music suddenly stops, as she steps back, asking him what he was about to tell her. He refuses to say anything, and she tells him that she wants to dance again, but a boy invites her to dance with him. She wants to stay with Patrick, so she tells the boy that she only likes people who are stronger than her, so he runs away. But Patrick hears this, knowing he isn't stronger than her, so he becomes devastated, thinking she doesn't like him. He asks her if she has plans for the spring break, but she interrupts him, explaining that she needs to go somewhere. She wonders if he's going home, and Patrick confirms this, but he doesn't get the chance to invite her. We learn that Patrick has been training in the dungeons, because he knows that Yuma likes strong men. The first day of the second year begins, and Patrick heads to the auditorium, where he sees Yuma holding an egg. He wonders what it is, so Yuma explains that it's her child, and Patrick wonders what she's talking about. We see that before the break, a girl named Jessica Montfort asked for her help, and she was Alicia's best friend in the game. She explains that her village was attacked by a dragon, but the soldiers aren't strong enough to defeat it, thinking Yuma might be able to do something about it. She decides to help, but she becomes surprised because she wasn't expecting Jessica to ask for her help. They immediately head to the village, and Yuma learns that it's a red dragon, just like in the game. Yuma arrives at the village and thanks Jessica for inviting her. Jessica's father mentions that his daughter told him she's like a demon lord, but Jessica denies this, saying he didn't understand her. She mentions that Yuma is level 99, but her father doesn't believe her because Yuma is too young to reach that level. She starts hunting the dragon, and Jessica's father assigns 2 guards to accompany her. Yuma suddenly stops, and they wonder if she's tired, but she reveals that the dragon is here, asking them to hide. The dragon appears, and it attacks her with fire magic, but it has no effect, and Yuma summons her black hole, which pulls the dragon into it, killing it in an instant. The guards are impressed, but she warns them that it's not over yet, knowing there are 2 dragons in the mountain because she completed the event in the game. A second dragon appears, and it attacks her with wind. But it doesn't affect her, and Yuma uses her Shadow Lance skill, stabbing the dragon repeatedly and destroying it in a matter of seconds. She knows that there's an item in the area, so she enters a cave where she finds the dragon egg. Back in the present, Yuma says she gave birth to the egg, so Patrick asks her who the father is, but she reveals that she was just joking. She explains that things happened during the break, and Patrick wonders if she wants to hatch it. So she tells him that she does, saying she already has permission from the king and the principal. We learn that in the game, Alicia hatches a light dragon, and she uses it as a means of transport for the whole team, so Yuma thinks it'll be useful if she needs to leave the kingdom. Dragons use magic to hatch their eggs, and the more powerful the magic, the stronger the hatchling becomes. When the egg hatches, the dragon instantly recognizes the one who gave it magic as its parent, and we learn that Yuma was taking care of the egg during the break, causing her to become attached to it. Alicia walks by, but she becomes scared because she sees the dragon as a dark creature. Patrick finds the egg sinister, but she asks him to be nice to her baby, and Yuma realizes that it's about to hatch, so she becomes excited. She takes Patrick to her house, and he seems nervous about it. The egg starts to move, and Rita becomes worried, but Yuma thinks it'll be adorable. She's excited to see it, and grabs Patrick's arm, but he feels pain, asking her to stop. The dragon starts to come out of the egg, and we see that it's as dark as Yuma. Patrick doesn't think it's cute, but Yuma thinks that it's the cutest thing she's ever seen. She notices its dark body, knowing it absorbed her magic well, so she thinks it's just like her. She thinks of it as a cat, and wonders what they should call it, so Patrick suggests calling it Rue, and she likes the name, so she decides to call the dragon Rue. The dragon starts to cast dark magic, and she wonders if Patrick or Rita wants to play with it, but they immediately run away. At night, she decides that Rue will sleep with her, and asks him to stay with her forever. Yuma wakes up as she hears Rita screaming, and we see that she's terrified, because Rue is already bigger than Yuma. She wonders how to get him out of the room, and she tells him to jump off the window. Rue manages to leave the room, but she wonders where he can live, but the other students see him, and they become terrified, so they start screaming dragon, and Yuma wonders if another dragon appeared. Patrick explains that the dragon is right behind her, but Yuma wonders why the students are afraid, because Rue is totally harmless. She thinks Rue will be the most popular dragon at school, asking him if he wants to play with everyone. Rue runs towards the students, but they keep running away from him, and Yuma wonders why, thinking they don't like animals. She asks Patrick if he likes Rue, but before he can answer, Rue bites his head. The students are terrified, but Yuma is jealous that it wasn't her. She asks him to let go of Patrick, and Edwin arrives, thinking she's causing trouble, so she explains that she has permission. But Edwin yells that a dragon is too dangerous, and Rue also bites him. Yuma scolds Rue for being too comfortable with someone he just met, and Alicia takes Edwin away. Elanora arrives, and she pets Rue, who likes her necklace, but when she takes it off, she also gets bitten. But Elanora is proud to be the only noble daughter who survived a dragon bite, and thinks it should make Edwin like her even more. Rue starts living in a storehouse near the school, and the next day, Yuma wants to play with Rue, asking Patrick if he has plans today. He explains that he does, but wonders what she wants. She thinks he's been busy lately, so she asks him what he's up to, but Patrick doesn't want to talk about it, thinking it's better to wait a bit longer, because he wants to tell her when the time is right. But Yuma thinks he wants to say the same thing as her, so they decide to speak together, but she says she wants to fly through the skies with Ru, and she wants him to accompany her. She wonders what he was going to say, but Patrick changes the subject, saying he isn't interested in flying. They go to Ru, and Patrick notices he's grown even more, wondering why he's wearing a ring, so Yuma explains it's to prevent him from being mistaken for a wild dragon. Yuma is nervous, but she thinks it's now or never, so she jumps on Ru's back and flies away, while Patrick asks her to be careful. She flies over the town and tries to impress the people, but everyone is horrified by the scene. Yuma tries to do maneuvers in the sky, but she ends up falling, and she realizes that she'll destroy the town if she uses her powers to stop the fall, so she uses her magic to throw herself into the academy's field. Patrick is worried about her, so he picks her up and decides to take her to the infirmary, but she explains that this isn't enough to hurt her. He tells her to be more careful, and Yuma thanks him for his concern. She heads to the town to get a saddle for Ru, but she's approached by a spy from the kingdom of Remlius, who wants to speak with her in private. They decide to talk in a restaurant, and he introduces himself as Linus. Yuma knows that his kingdom is a neighboring country, and it's close to the Ashbatten territory, where Patrick's family lives. She also knows that the kingdoms don't get along, and she wonders what he wants from her. Linus asks her to order something first, so Yuma orders a dish that's quick to prepare, since she can't miss the school curfew. She asks him what he wants from her, so he admits that he wants to take her to his country, and explains that he gathered information about her. He knows that it would be difficult to take her to his side, since she doesn't seem attracted to wealth or status. She wonders why he reached out to her, and he explains that his kingdom became more insistent since she acquired a dragon, so he decides to ask her directly, telling her that he can provide anything she wants. She wonders if they want something in return, and he thinks they would turn her into a civilian soldier. She realizes that she would be called to wars, thinking Patrick's family would be in danger if she became an enemy of this kingdom, so she declines. Linus asks her about her reason for staying in this kingdom, since they have a prejudice against black-haired people. She thinks of Patrick, but tells Linus that her only goal is to defeat the Demon Lord, saying she can get stronger here. He becomes confused, but she hears a noise, and they see guards outside. She thinks they have someone watching her, telling Linus to escape, so he thanks her, and they both exit through the window. Yuma heads to the academy, thinking about how she wanted to flee the kingdom if things got complicated at first. But now she wants to stay, and doesn't want to be Patrick's enemy, so she realizes that she has feelings for him. She meets Patrick the next day, and she wants to be his friend, but he becomes confused, explaining that they've been friends from the start. She thinks this is too nice, so she wonders if he sees her as a military resource, and explains that she'll never invade other countries. But he doesn't understand what she's talking about, and suspects that she has trust issues. He explains that he'd never use her that way, saying he would stand by her even if she were level 1, and this causes her to blush as she thanks him. The academy results come out, and Yuma congratulates Patrick for being at the top again. They discuss the results, and Elanora suddenly arrives with a request. Yuma heads to her room, and she asks Yuma to help her study for the makeup exam. Yuma wonders why she doesn't ask her friends, but it turns out she scored the highest grade among them. Yuma thinks her friends are lying, because they just want her to feel superior, but Yuma agrees to help. They start studying history, but Yuma quickly finds Elanora unsuitable for studies, thinking she's terrible at memorizing. But Elanora begins mentioning facts about the current king, saying she knows everything because he's Edwin's father. So Yuma comes up with an idea, asking her to consider the previous kings as part of Edwin's family, and she agrees to this, so Yuma starts teaching her this way. After some time, Patrick says he's happy that Elanora passed thanks to her help, but she doesn't seem excited, since she has to keep teaching Elanora for the rest of the year. She tries to get him to fly with Ru, but he refuses again, saying he already has plans for later. She wonders what he'll be doing after school, but Elanora interrupts them, thanking Yuma for her help, and trying to give her a necklace, as she mentions that it would make her even more beautiful. But Patrick leaves, telling her to have fun with Elanora. Patrick goes to a dungeon, and he starts killing goblins, as he recalls that Yuma likes strong men, so he promises to become stronger for her. Patrick goes home after the raid, but Yuma shows up, and she reveals that she knows where he's been spending his time. He thinks she found out, but Yuma asks him who his girlfriend is. He explains that he's not dating, and wonders why she thinks his injuries were caused by a girl, but she believes that was the only explanation, asking him where he's been spending his time. He decides to tell her about the raids, but before he could say anything, Rue complains, so she decides to take him home. Edwin arrives, revealing that he overheard the conversation, so he thinks Patrick is right about Yuma, but he still finds her strange. Patrick arranges a meeting between Edwin and Yuma, and Edwin apologizes for being rude all this time, as he explains that his father told him that she isn't the demon lord. But he was too proud to admit his mistake in front of others, so he apologizes for his behavior. So Yuma remembers that he's still just a child, like the other students in the academy, knowing it's easy for young people to let pride and vanity take over. She asks him about his sudden change of heart, so Edwin reveals that Patrick talked to him, telling him stories about her, and assured him that her strength was the result of years of hard work. He asks for her forgiveness, and she accepts the apologies, but wonders what else Patrick said about her. So he reveals that Patrick praised her, and convinced him that she's a good person, despite acting like a nutcase. Yuma gets angry hearing this, so Edwin starts begging for his life. Moments later, she has a meeting with Ronald, and he wonders how her talk with Edwin went. She thinks that he's like a new person now, and Ronald is pleased to hear this, asking her if she's ready to help Edwin's group level up. She wonders if they're struggling to get stronger, and Ronald explains that they're evolving quickly after they lost in the tournament. But Alicia is the problem, because every time she tries to hunt monsters, everyone protects her, preventing her from leveling up. So Yuma makes her way to Alicia, thinking she won't be able to defeat the demon lord if she doesn't level up. Yuma is afraid that she might be forced to marry Edwin if she defeats the demon lord, so she wants Alicia to deal the finishing blow. She finds Alicia training, and thinks her level is concerning. Yuma offers to help her level up, and even suggests going to a dark dungeon, because her light magic is effective against dark monsters. But Yuma still seems like a monster to her, so she's afraid to enter the dungeon with Yuma, and she declines the offer, as she starts running away. Yuma enters the classroom, but everyone's talking about Alicia, and Patrick reveals that she disappeared, so the teachers are looking for her. The boys arrive, asking Yuma about Alicia, but she doesn't know, telling them that Alicia was struggling to level up. They wonder if this is the reason why she ran away, but William thinks she wouldn't do that, and Edwin wonders why she didn't leave a message. Oswald reminds them that Alicia is their trump card, since she has the attribute that can defeat the demon lord. So they believe someone supporting the demon lord must have abducted her, and they set out to search for her. Meanwhile, we see Alicia walking around, but she appears to be hypnotized, and she's heading deeper into the forest. We see Yuma searching for Alicia, and she sees her walking in the forest. So Yuma approaches her, calling out to her, and causing her to regain control of her body. Yuma tells her what happened, saying she thought that Alicia was going to the dark dungeon, so she decided to search in the forest. She wonders why Alicia wandered off, so she reveals that this isn't the first time this happened, saying she occasionally loses control of her body. She recalls the first time this happened, revealing that the Royal Academy wanted to recruit her when they heard about her light magic. She tried to refuse, but she suddenly felt the urge to enter the academy, causing her to lose control, and she ended up signing the contract. And she doesn't know why she invited Edwin outside during the year-end party, revealing that she remembers everything, but she doesn't know why she's doing it, thinking she's being controlled. She explains that she didn't tell the boys about this, because she doesn't want them to worry, and Yuma realizes that the game is guiding Alicia, to ensure that she follows the story. Yuma thinks that Alicia wandered off, because she won't be able to defeat the demon lord if she doesn't level up, so the game forced her to travel to the dark dungeon, but Yuma can't tell her about this, knowing it will cause her to become confused. So Yuma tells her that her body is acting on its own, because she's too stressed out, assuring her that it's going to stop happening eventually. This causes her to feel better, so she thanks Yuma, and she decides to return to the academy, but Yuma suggests going to the dungeon, saying she still needs to level up. Yuma gives her an amulet of protection, telling her that she's going to have fun, and she reluctantly decides to join Yuma. They enter the dungeon, where Alicia encounters monsters, causing her to freak out, so she starts blasting them, as Yuma tells her that they're weak against her magic. But she starts complaining, thinking she's going to die, but we learn that Yuma finished the dungeon countless times, because she used to grind there when she was playing the game. She decides to guide Alicia, knowing this is her first time entering a dungeon, and she manages to defeat the monsters, but she wonders why they're getting stronger. So Yuma reveals that there are 50 levels in the dungeon, saying the monsters will get stronger as they proceed deeper, and they will receive a reward item when they complete it. Alicia struggles against the monsters, and she wonders why Yuma isn't helping her, so she reveals that she wants Alicia to defeat them because she needs to level up. Yuma promises to help her if her life is in danger, and she uses a new skill, allowing her to defeat a monster, and they proceed deeper into the dungeon, as Yuma tells her that she's doing great. But she activates a trap, causing her to fall, as Yuma realizes that she forgot to tell Alicia about it. Alicia lands on an enormous monster, and it threatens to attack her, so she uses her magic, killing it in an instant. Yuma arrives, and she realizes that Alicia is injured, offering to heal her using dark magic, but she refuses, saying she's fine, but Yuma heals her anyway, causing her to freak out. They reach the 50th floor, where they encounter the boss, and Yuma tells Alicia to take care of it. But she struggles against it. The boss attacks her, knocking her back, and Yuma realizes she's in trouble, so she attacks the boss, killing it in one hit. She approaches Alicia, and the amulet of protection activates, allowing her to regain consciousness. Yuma explains that the amulet saved her, but it only works once, so she needs to replace it. They open the treasure chest, and we see that they have obtained amulets of protection, but Yuma doesn't need them, so she tells Alicia to keep them. They're teleported away, and Alicia thinks it's over, so she thanks Yuma for her help, but she tells Alicia to wear another amulet of protection, saying they're going to keep grinding until she defeats the boss. She's surprised to hear this, but she agrees to do it, and she continues to make progress. But she still can't defeat the boss, so Yuma helps her out, and they receive a dark sword from the treasure chest, so Yuma decides to keep it. Alicia keeps grinding, and they acquire a wind spear, so Yuma thinks about giving it to Patrick, and after several attempts, Alicia manages to defeat the boss. They obtain a light sword, thinking it will be useful against the demon lord, and Yuma tries to touch it, but she realizes that she can't, because it's reacting to her dark magic. They return to the surface, and Yuma tells Alicia that they've achieved their goal, asking Alicia if she had fun, but she starts hallucinating, thinking she's about to die. Yuma realizes that they still have time, so she asks Alicia if she wants to visit the demon lord's location. But she wonders how Yuma knows about this, and she realizes that she can't tell Alicia, because she just learned it by playing the game, so she tells Alicia that her level 99 instincts revealed the location. They ride Ru, as Yuma mentions that she wants to confirm if she's right, but Alicia panics, so Yuma wonders what's wrong with her. But it suddenly starts raining, and a gust of wind pushes them back, causing Alicia to fall, so Ru catches her, and Yuma thinks that the game is preventing them from entering the area, because it's too early to fight the demon lord, so they decide to return to the academy. The boys are happy to see her, saying they were worried about her, and Yuma gives Patrick the wind spear. The next day, Alicia uses her spell, destroying a dummy in an instant, and the boys are impressed, realizing that she's stronger than them. She tells them that she worked hard to make progress, and they become determined to get stronger, because they don't want to get left behind. Yuma thinks she's at level 50, but she knows that Alicia still isn't strong enough to defeat the demon lord. She considers that it's going to be harder for Alicia to level up, so she thinks about taking Alicia to a higher level dungeon. Patrick thinks Alicia is going to cry if she hears this, but Yuma believes that grinding is fun, and he realizes that he needs to work harder so that Yuma will fall in love with him. Yuma walks around the campus, and a man approaches her, saying he needs her help with an experiment. He leads her to a classroom, where he shows her his new invention, revealing that it's designed to seal magic. He makes her wear it, telling her to raise her magic output, and she follows his instructions, unleashing her full power. But the device doesn't break, and the man calls his companions, telling them to kill her while she can't use magic, as he reveals that she fell for his trap. but she easily destroys the shackles, revealing that her physical strength is also level 99, so the assassins panic, saying they were just playing a prank on her. But she doesn't believe them, and they end up getting arrested. Yuma thinks they're from the anti-king faction, and Ronald tells her to be careful, because he believes they have a spy in the academy. The next evening, an assassin tries to kill her while she's sleeping, but as he stabs her, his knife ends up breaking, and she asks him what he's doing, causing him to be frightened. The next day, Yuma tells Patrick about the assassination attempts, advising him to stay away from her, because he could end up getting into trouble. She suddenly senses arrows approaching, but she easily stops them, and she finds the assassin, revealing that she's upset, because his arrows could have hit Patrick if she didn't stop them. Yuma walks around the town wearing a disguise, and she sees children playing outside, as a boy watches them from a distance. So she approaches him, asking him if they don't like him, but he reveals that he's afraid to join them, because everyone hates his dark hair. But she shows him her hair, saying it's as dark as night, so everyone avoided her at first, but they eventually accepted her. He thinks he'll never have friends, but she tells him to try reaching out to others, and at that moment, a group of thugs approach them. They recognize Yuma, so she tells the children to be careful, and the men charge at her. But she restrains them with her magic, and the children think she's cool, realizing that she's a powerful mage. She starts interrogating the leader of the group, asking him who hired them, but he says he doesn't know, because their client was hiding his face. Yuma returns home, telling Rita about the incident, as she reveals that she handed them over to the authorities. She realizes that her tea tastes odd, so she asks Rita about it, telling her to taste it. But she panics, and she starts begging for forgiveness, as she reveals that she put poison in Yuma's drink, because her sister was taken hostage. Yuma asks her about the poison, so she reveals that she's been using an extremely deadly product, which can kill a man with a single drop. But she's been putting 5 drops into Yuma's drink, and it still wasn't enough to kill her. Rita reveals that she's been helping the assassins, saying Yuma's father ordered her to do it, and Yuma asks her about her sister, so she reveals that her sister is working for Yuma's father in his mansion. So that evening, Yuma and Rita fly to the mansion, where they find Rita's sister Sarah, who seems to have no idea what's happening. She's surprised to see Yuma, who tells her that she's being held hostage, and Rita thinks she's about to get executed, so she begs Yuma to spare Sarah. But Yuma chooses to forgive her, knowing she just wanted to save Sarah, and she's happy to hear this, saying she will be loyal to Yuma until the very end. She tells Rita and Sarah to wait for her, and she sees her parents at the dining table, but they don't recognize her. So she tells them that she's their only daughter, and they're surprised to see her, revealing that they hired the assassins, because they believe she has betrayed them. They think she's been working with the king to eliminate the anti-king faction, saying they're ashamed of her. And she realizes that there's a misunderstanding, because the kingdom is preparing its soldiers for the demon lord's invasion, and she has a good relationship with the king. So the anti-king faction feels threatened, and her parents thought killing her would be better than handing her over to their enemy, so they hired the assassins. She tries to explain herself, saying there's been a misunderstanding, but her parents don't believe her, thinking she's trying to gain power by going to war. She tells them to return to their domain, but they reveal that they don't want to stay there, because life is boring in the country, saying they don't want her as a child. She realizes that they're hopeless, telling her father to yield his title to her, as she reminds him that she's his only heir, so she's going to become a countess after he dies. He thinks he's being threatened, so he tries to call the guards, but she tells him that they won't be able to stop her. She summons a black hole, threatening to kill her parents if they don't give her what she wants, and her mother passes out, as her father begs for mercy, saying she can have his title. The next day, Yuma reports this to the king, who asks her why she decided to take over her family's domain. So she explains that she wants to hold a position of power and eliminate the discrimination against people with dark hair. The king knows it won't be easy, but she's determined to do everything to succeed. Later that day, she talks to Patrick, saying the assassins are no longer attacking her, and she realizes that she doesn't have what it takes to kill people. She's relieved that she chose to spare the assassins, because she was worried that she no longer has a heart. But Patrick tells her she's a great person, saying he's impressed by her resolve to become a countess. She reveals that she was inspired by the boy she met, thinking she needs to change society to make it a better place, because people with black hair are struggling to fit in. Patrick agrees to help her, and she tells him that she needs someone by his side, because she needs to have a successor. So he becomes flustered, thinking she's going to ask him to marry her, but she wants to adopt him as her son instead. He instantly refuses, and Yuma isn't happy to hear this, promising to be a good parent, but he still refuses, so she becomes confused, wondering why he doesn't want to be a part of her family. After some time, the kingdom celebrates its foundation day, but the king announces that the demon lord is about to return. He knows that the demon lord is going to attack their kingdom, but he assures everyone that the preparations have been made, and he appoints Adolphe as the supreme commander of the royal army. He adds that Edwin will lead an elite unit to defeat the demon lord, and we see that Yuma is going to join them. After the event, Yuma thinks about her goals, and Patrick joins her, saying he saw her from his window. She's impressed that he was able to see her from a distance, and he reveals that it's because of his training, revealing that he's already at level 60. She's surprised to hear this, realizing that he's as powerful as Adolphe, and he explains that he's been training in the dungeon during his free time, revealing that he's using the amulet of growth to level up faster. She tells him to stop doing it, knowing it's dangerous to explore dungeons without the amulet of protection, and she reveals that she doesn't want to lose him. But he explains that he feels the same way when she does something reckless, so she promises to be more careful. She wonders why he worked so hard to level up, so he reveals that he wants to surpass her, because she said she only likes men who are stronger than her. But she explains that she never meant it, saying she only said it during the party because she didn't want to dance with other boys, but he tells her that he wants to be strong enough to stay by her side. She tells him to play rock paper scissors with her, and she ends up winning, but he asks her if he lost, saying he can't see anything because it's too dark. She tells him that he won, saying she likes him because he's better than her, and they kiss each other as the celebration reaches its climax. After some time, the demon lord arrives with his army, and the high-level students are chosen to join the royal army, while Yuma leads Edwin's unit to the demon lord's stronghold. We learn that Patrick told her to wear the amulet of protection, because he wanted to make sure that she makes it back alive, and she agreed to do it, telling him to be careful. The royal army clashes with the demon lord's forces, and Patrick creates a barrier to protect the students. But a dragon suddenly appears, so he charges in, and he stabs its head, killing it in one hit. So everyone is amazed, and he leads them in combat, allowing the royal army to secure the advantage. Edwin's unit arrives at the demon lord's castle, and they prepare for the final battle, as Yuma tells Rue to join Patrick, knowing the demon lord has the power to control monsters. They enter the castle, and Alicia thanks Yuma for helping her level up, saying they should do their best to defeat the demon lord. But Yuma wants her to strike the finishing blow, so that she can marry Edwin after she becomes the saint. Edwin reveals that a noble family used to live in the castle, but they aren't mentioned in the royal documents, revealing that he searched the old records in the kingdom to learn about the demon lord. He explains that he snuck into the royal academy because he thought it contained secret documents about the demon lord, knowing it was founded by the first king, but he didn't find anything. They enter a strange room where they see dark bubbles, and they become confused, but Yuma senses the danger, so she saves Edwin, but the others end up getting trapped. The demon lord appears, and Edwin prepares to fight him. His friends tell him to be careful, but the demon lord uses his spell to attack them, so Yuma saves them with her magic, and they start ganging up on him, using their strongest attacks. But he easily blocks all of them, and he launches a counterattack, blowing them away, but their amulets save them from certain death. Yuma realizes that they aren't strong enough to defeat the demon lord, so she decides to fight him, but he starts asking her questions, saying he's impressed that she was able to break his binding spell. He knows that she also uses dark magic, and he invites her to join him, saying she should abandon the humans, but she refuses. He threatens to kill Alicia, so Edwin tries to save her, but the demon lord impales him, and he loses consciousness. Yuma realizes that she's the only one who can defeat the demon lord, and he uses a binding spell, but she counters, summoning dark spikes, but he uses Alicia as a shield. But Alicia is launched to the air, as Yuma explains that she's resistant to dark magic, so she didn't take damage from the spell, because Yuma only used a small portion of her power. She charges in, and she manages to land a hit, shattering the demon lord's helmet, and he realizes that she's stronger than her companions, thinking he must be related to her, because she also has black hair. He asks her about the history of the kingdom, so she tells him that it was built after the demon lord was defeated. But he explains that this is a lie, saying the first king united the land to form a kingdom, and he served as the king's loyal retainer. But the king saw him as a threat, so he was sent into exile and branded as a traitor. His anger and hatred turned him into the demon lord, and he sent his minions to destroy the humans. But he ended up getting sealed with an ancient spell, revealing that he had to wait for ages before the seal was broken. Yuma explains that the first king is entirely to blame, and she tells him not to destroy the humans, saying they have changed. But he isn't convinced, knowing they hate people who are stronger than them, and he knows that they despise people with black hair. But she explains that the royal family accepted her for who she is, and she wants to protect the people who are dear to her. She tells him to escape, saying she will help him fake his death, so that he can live a peaceful life, but he refuses, saying he waited a long time to get his revenge on humanity. He summons a black hole, threatening to destroy everything around him, and Yuma decides to put him out of his misery. Their weapons clash, and Yuma unleashes her full power, allowing her to defeat the demon lord, who ends up getting consumed by his black hole. Alicia protects everyone with her holy shield, as the black holes continue to expand, destroying everything around them. They're able to survive, and they thank Yuma, knowing they couldn't have defeated the demon lord without her. They tell her she's about to become the saint, but she doesn't want this, saying Alicia should take the title instead. But at that moment, Alicia stabs her, and everyone is surprised as she collapses. We see that Alicia is being controlled by the game, and she's about to kill Yuma, but Edwin stops her, asking her what's wrong with her. Yuma understands what's happening, knowing she's supposed to fight Alicia as the hidden boss, because the demon lord has been defeated. So the game forced Alicia to stab her, and she knows she would have died if it weren't for her amulet of protection, realizing that Patrick saved her life. The boys restrain Alicia, but she manages to overpower them, and she makes her way to Yuma, but she uses her dark magic to defend herself. She explains that Alicia was cursed by the demon lord before he died, and the boys are convinced by her explanation, but she just made this up because she wants to smooth things over. Alicia wakes up, and they think she's back to normal, but she warns them that she can't control her body, telling Yuma to escape. Yuma is worried that she won't be able to control her power, so she could end up killing Alicia, but Edwin hugs her, telling her to stab him instead, while William and Oswald tell her to be strong, and they're about to tell her how they feel. But Edwin beats them to it, telling her he loves her, and she's able to regain control, as Yuma explains that the power of love broke the demon lord's curse, so Alicia is going to become the saint. But a skeleton army suddenly surrounds them, threatening to kill them, so they start fighting, attacking the skeletons with everything they have. Yuma notes that her companions are trying to make up for being useless against the demon lord, and Alicia wants to make it up to her, knowing she almost killed her. Yuma knows that she can eliminate the skeletons in an instant, but she decides to leave it to the others, because she wants to give them a chance to shine. Moments later, Rue arrives with Patrick, and he sees that Edwin's unit has defeated the skeletons. He asks Yuma what happened, so she explains that they have defeated the demon lord, and he reveals that the royal army has prevailed. We see Elanora treating the wounded soldiers when Yuma arrives with the others, and Edwin announces that they have won the battle because the demon lord has been defeated. Patrick watches with Yuma, and they see the soldiers celebrating, so he asks her if he wants to join them, but she tells him that she wants to be with him. They return to the capital, and everyone celebrates their return, seeing them as heroes. But Edwin reports everything to the king, who decides to punish Alicia because she almost killed Yuma, but she explains that Alicia was cursed by the demon lord, so he doesn't need to punish her. They return to their peaceful lives, and we learn that Oswald and William are always challenging Yuma, wanting to become stronger. She knows that they're about to graduate, so she prepares to return to her domain, thinking about achieving her goal, but she knows it won't be easy. We see Yuma flying with Patrick, who asks her where they're going, so she tells him that she wants to explore a new dungeon with him, wanting to enjoy their time together before they graduate. But that's where this video ends. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.